Hello everyone, my name is Abhi Bhardwaj and I'm back with lecture series on science. Today I want to focus on a topic which is very personal to me. Since my childhood actually I wanted to understand who I am, where I came from, how this nature works and what is the truth, behind when we talk about God and all these things. So these things bothered me right from the beginning, and I think as long as I can remember I was trying to get answers, but I wanted to understand it scientifically rather than just believing on things of your own, and just like that. And if I recall, I was reading a lot of science books, being a science student, so I was reading physics, chemistry, and all these books, in the beginning, but trying to, most importantly, trying to answer the questions and trying to learn about the truth. I also was introduced to Hinduism by my mom. She was very religious, so I was introduced to very great books like Ramayana and Gita and all those great books, right from the beginning. So when I was reading these, I wanted to make sure that whatever written there is there any truth in there, and if it is, then does science explain any of that? So when I grew up, I switched gears and I learned more about geology, and this is where my main field is earth science, and also learned about how the planets were, our planet was formed, how the solar system was formed. But most importantly, my interest grew in quantum physics as well, and I wanted to learn also about how the universe originated. And as I learned more, and found out more about the Big Bang theory and how everything came into picture, I had firm belief in that theory now, and I was trying to relate it back to what I have been learning within religion as well. But let me first explain it to you guys, what I think about, so when we look at, for example, how our universe came into picture, we know that everything what we see today has the same single source. So everything came from single source, and after the Big Bang, as we know that there were subatomic particles, and those were the basis for formation of our first atoms, which took around 300,000 years, to form our first atom. And then this, the first atom was hydrogen, for example, and also helium and lithium, and these atoms the made to form the rest of the stars and galaxies and all what we see today. But also these were the basis for formation of more complex elements, I would say, what we see in periodic table today. So all of those came from the different stars. But when we look at our planet, for instance, whatever matter we see here or in our galaxy, in our solar system, all of that has origin and relation to what happened in the beginning, and we are part of that. And when we look at this in detail, we find out that everything, what we see as matter, what we observe with our senses and our scientific instruments, lead us to believe that everything has the same source and origin. So the things might look different, but in fact they came from the same source, and that source was single. That is very important to know. And once we understand this, and once I understood it more in more scientific way, I went back and looked at what I have been learning in our religion, for example in Gita, and some of the stuff which has been said by Krishna to Arjun, about the creation of this universe and about himself, are very much similar to what we see through science. So for example, Krishna says, I am the source of everything, I am the one who is existing, whatever you're seeing is not real, and all those things are very true when you look at science as well. So in this video, you're going to see some of the discussion on this topic, and then in the end we'll make a conclusion. But my whole idea is to to tell you guys that this is kind of personal research which has been going on over these years within me, and I wanted to understand it scientifically, and now I have firm belief that that everything actually has the same source, same origin, and it might look different, but it is exactly the same, and it very much tally with what Krishna has described in Gita also. So let's look at the rest of the video, and we'll try to understand and conclude it that way. So what you see in this picture basically are small dots, and all of those dots represent galaxies. So you can see the observable universe is so huge, it's so hard to even find out the Milky Way galaxy. Where is it? It's very small in comparison to universe. And then within our Milky Way galaxy we have solar system, which is even smaller, and the earth is like almost invisible. So you can imagine how big the universe itself is, and where we are within this universe. So this universe came from the single source. That's very important to know. There was a big bang which basically led to formation of whatever universe we see today. So in the beginning there were like very simple elements, atoms, and then more complex, and then you see the galaxy systems and star systems forming, and more complex elements are started forming. What we see, for example, in the beginning were hydrogen and helium atoms only, and then you see that within these supernovas we had all these complex elements took shape, and this is how we kind of see whatever we see now within our observable universe. Whatever matter we see, all these elements came from different star systems which were formed in the beginning. So all the periodic table elements you see today came from all these different stars, including our solar system. Whatever our planet is made up of also came from all these different star systems in the past. And but it's important to know that our universe is not only made up of matter, it is also made up of dark matter and dark energy. If you look at the dark matter, it's 26%, and dark energy is about 68%, and rest is matter. So matter is only 5%. So whatever you see, the observable universe is only 5%. Rest is dark matter and dark energy, and that's how our universe works, because dark matter and dark energy help it to form galaxies, and all this gravitational pull and everything comes from this. But coming back to the matter, our bodies are also made up of the same matter, so which came from all these different star systems. And when you look at our body, for example, all of this is made up of different material which came from different star systems. All these atoms, for example oxygen, carbon, all this what your body is made up of came from different star systems, and our body is like a universe in itself. The basis of it our body is DNA, for example, and DNA itself is made up of adenine, thymine, guanine, cytosine, which in turn are different type of bases, but made up of different elements like nitrogen, hydrogen, oxygen. So all these are atoms, and DNA basically is a code from the nature which tells the cells how to divide and form different new cells. But coming back to our body, if you look at our body, it has trillions of atoms in it, and that is the truth, and they all came from different star systems, as I said. So other side of it is quantum mechanics and quantum physics, which tells us about the micro universe, and there is no limit of the micro universe as well. When you look at the micro universe, for example, it works differently than the macro universe, but there's no limit on that side as well as the macro side. So the universe itself is so huge both way that our brain cannot comprehend it. That is the fact. But Also, it is a fact that everything came from the single source, and that's exactly what Krishna said in Gita to Arjun, that it's me everywhere. It's, all the origin of everything is me, and I am existing in every atom, and that is what the fact is. To me, looks like that, this has been said exactly the same way what quantum mechanics or quantum physics is telling us now, that everything, has the same source, and source of everything is Krishna itself. And I'm calling Krishna name as, to represent God or the creator. But this is the fact that that creator has taken different forms and different shapes, and whatever you see around us, is nothing else but Krishna itself only. Nothing else is existing. Only Krishna is existing in different forms and different shapes, and that is the fact. And when we kind of compare it with what we have seen within science and what we read within Gita, it tells us exactly the same story, and everything else looks illusion, interpretation of your brain, for instance. And our brain, we know, that doesn't observe everything in totality. So the fact is that this is Maya, and illusion is also has been described by Krishna within Gita. So we have to understand this, that what we see might not be the truth, and the truth might be totally different. And according to my observation, it looks like that everything has same origin, and that one thing has taken over the entire universe. So it has manifested itself into entire universe, and you might see the different things, different dimensions, and different multiverses, but every universe or every dimension you see is a manifestation of that very source, and that very source itself is Krishna, and there's nothing else existing. So everything else is an illusion, and the fact is that it's just God's manifestation in different forms and different shapes. Thanks for watching.